Hi, everybody. I'm Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO of Digital Leadership Associates. I'm here with Nick Evans. Nick and I are going to talk about the 4 ways of mastering a digital business. Nick has got a book out about digital business. I'm really excited to talk to him today. So, Nick, first off, let everybody know where they can get hold of you.
Sure. I'm at, on Twitter, it's Nicholas D. Evans. So Nicholasd and then Evans, EVANS. LinkedIn, I guess, just find me as Nicholas Evans, and also a website called thinkers360.com.
Okay, and we're going to talk about Thinkers 360 a bit later on at the end of our 20 minutes.
Great.
But just give us a little bit of a story about your journey, because you've got a really interesting story about how where you are today and how you got to write the book, because it's not your first book, is it? And so just give us some background, Nick.
Sure. Originally from the UK, as you can probably tell, and moved over to Texas in '89 actually, and worked for a number of boutique consulting firms in the IT space. And about mid-90s, joined PwC, co-founded their internet consulting business in the mid to late 90s.
Wow,
which was a very interesting time, obviously, in the boom of the internet era.
With an organization that probably didn't understand it at that time.
Yeah, we were actually doing a lot of client server work at the time, right. And I'd come across some people doing some web pages, and these weren't even connected to a database at the time, so very static, web pages. But once people figured out, hey, we can connect this to a relational database, we can do e-commerce, things like that. That's really when things took off. So, we quickly co-founded that consulting business and really grew it over the following years.
And you've now written 5 books with Mastering Digital Business is the latest one, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
How did you come? How did you, or why did you start writing books?
Yeah, it was really started with articles, just as a way, as a consultant, as a way to kind of just share some of the lessons learned on consulting engagements. So started writing for some magazines, and then just kind of graduated to Financial Times, Microsoft Press, PowerSoft Press back in the day, with the Power Builder software, and more recently with the BCS, which is the British Computer Society, which is the latest book.
Okay, and that's and am I right in calling that's called Mastering Digital Business?
Yes, that's right.
And so give us just an overview of what that's about. If I was going to buy it on Amazon, why would I go and buy it on Amazon?
Sure. It's really aimed to be a strategic guide for the next wave of digital transformation. So, we're well into the whole digital transformation movement now, maybe 5 or 6 years, maybe 7. But I really wanted to go beyond the basics of what is digital transformation, and really start to look at strategically how can companies be successful, and what's the DNA of some of these world-class organizations that are already seeing transformational results.
And you're going to mention some of those as we work through our 4 pointers today, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So in terms of we talked about there's 4 ways of looking at mastering digital business. So if we work through your items 1 to 4.
Sure.
So, number 1.
Yeah. Okay. So number 1, I would say, is the idea of a platform business model. So not only a technical architecture for a platform, meaning an industry, basically an industry cloud. So a bit like a GE Predicts type of design.
Yeah.
This is not only a technical architecture, but also a business model. So it's all about ecosystems. It's all about getting away from the not invented here syndrome. So what we found is the most successful companies in my study, I found a lot of the most successful companies in digital transformation were really kind of their foundational architecture was based on an industry cloud and software as a service. And what that does for you as an organization, we all know the B2C examples of Amazon, eBay, Apple, etc. But now in the B2B world, we're seeing the same designs springing up and the same business architecture. And it's really about using the company's own IP, but realizing that there's also a lot of great IP externally. So how do you partner? How do you bring in that IP into your business model and really take advantage of an ecosystem model? And what we've seen is companies with that kind of architecture, they're actually seeing about a 4x premium in valuation. So very powerful financial benefits too to the model.
Yeah, having worked at a company that sold cloud systems, I understand that. I'm not sure that everybody does, but what I saw very much was the fact that you generally bought this 10, 15 years ago, usually pre-Y2K. You bought this thing, you implemented it, and you were going to get 10 years out of it. And it was on premise, and you had lots of people feeding and watering it. And then you had to upgrade it, and then that would cost you a whole load of money as well. Whereas with the cloud, I think am I right in saying that it's giving you an agility as the organization that you can switch it on and switch it off?
Yeah, you can really kind of upgrade your users on the fly and roll out new functionality on the fly. But also it lets people innovate on top of the platform too. So basically kind of a Lego brick type of architecture. And what companies are doing, like GE Predicts, for example, they're not only innovating themselves and adding modules and functionality, but they're letting their partners and customers kind of build and innovate on top.
So what GE Predicts is then, Nick?
Yeah, sure. It's kind of a B2B industry cloud for GE's manufacturing customers.
General Electric.
Yeah, and it's things like locomotives and wind turbines, and they're into healthcare. So it's a number of industry verticals, aviation, healthcare, etc. But what they're doing is they're building specific industry applications for those customers. So if I own a fleet of wind turbines across the country, if I use that platform, I can get insights and analytics into the performance of my wind turbines. And you've really got that real-time visibility. You can do predictive maintenance, things like that.
So is this in the old days, we had a data center and we locked everything in the data center. Are we now externalizing that as part of the new digital world?
Yeah, it's really I think the percentage that's traditional data center is declining every year. And we're seeing more of these, cloud-based architectures. It may be in more than one location, so it could be very virtualized, very distributed. But the idea is make it all plug and play, pull in partner extensions and IP, and really kind of allow people to innovate around that platform.
Okay, and also, in most organizations, especially in B2B, we're working with. We don't just do it all ourselves. We have an element of partners, whether that's providing something addition to our proposition or people that we're working with as a go-to-market or something like that. And that's about bringing them into the platform as well.
Yeah, it's good to a lot of companies that are successful with this. They realize that they don't need to invent the cloud foundation, so they'll partner with an Azure or an AWS. And they're really focusing on where they have expertise, maybe in the industry functionality and so on. So it's all about kind of bringing in the best of, the best IP from different partners and really building a nice ecosystem there.
Okay, so number one is building a platform business. What's your second step in terms of mastering a digital business?
Sure. The second one is really taking a company innovation program and just really making sure it's aligned with the objectives for digital. So a lot of times in big organizations, you have a lot of disconnected silos. in different departments, business units. And so you've really got to think, especially the C-suite really wants to make sure that the innovation engine of the company is really aligned with where they want to go with digital transformation, and getting the lining up those metrics and those goals and objectives.
When you say innovation engine, is that where, if we're looking at Kodak invented the digital camera, but they put it in a cupboard, scared to actually do anything with it? The taxi companies didn't innovate Uber. The hotels didn't innovate Airbnb. Is this about making sure the digital business actually is innovating themselves when you say an innovation department?
Yes, exactly. So it's all about continuously innovating and innovating with partners again. So it kind of ties in that ecosystem concept. But with digital transformation, you're never finished. So, even if you go through some major initiatives and you create this great change and you pivot your business model, maybe you've innovated some processes, you're never finished. So even if you're, working for a year, 2 years, 3 years, you got to kind of keep this innovation engine going, and always, be thinking of the future and what next.
Because there's always an app that's suddenly going to come in and disrupt your business or basically undercut you or whatever. So you've got to be continually evolving. Yeah.
Yeah. And thinking about kind of the scope of digital transformation. So it's not just the customer experience and the digital marketing aspects. There's other efficiencies that you can look at as a business, internal productivity, think about the workforce of the future. The tools and technologies that you provide to the workforce, not only the customer. Insights from big data. How can AI help the business? So it's all about its productivity, it's the workforce, its employees. So it's a very large scope, and that's why a lot of companies are struggling with digital transformation, because it's really a team sport across the whole C-suite.
And it covers so many things, because not only are you needing to think about your business going forward, but also it's about your business as is. Would you say that was correct?
Yeah, it's I think that's why we're talking about connecting innovation with digital transformation, because you've got to really think about the near-term projects that are 1 or 2 months away. And where are you making changes and innovating there? But then also strategically in 3, 4, 5 years, where are you taking the company? So it's the innovation is really cutting across business model, process, products, and services. So it really needs to be very, very holistic.
So across the whole of your operating model in terms of the way that the business works.
Yeah. That's right.
And how I'm interested to know your view on how important is it that the people within the organization are enabled and understand this, and how is it important that the C-suite understand about what digital is as well?
Yeah, we actually, as part of the book, we did a survey with the British Computer Society, and we actually found that the companies that had made digital transformation a C-level top 3 priority, or even a board top 3 level priority, were actually a lot further along in their journey and had actually seen a lot more success than those that hadn't. So I think by tying it to the C-suite and also the board and making it a top 3 priority, what that does is that gets the company focus, it brings in governance, it brings in investment. It really makes it very strategic, which is what you have to do to really make some big changes, versus just kind of tactical tweaks here and there kind of thing.
Yeah, we had we were in a meeting with somebody and they were interested in doing some stuff, and they said, "Do you take credit cards?" And we said, "Well, yeah, we can do." And they said, "Why?" And they said, and he went like this, and he pointed upwards, and he says, "Because the people upstairs don't understand what's going on." And we've had a lot of people that have actually said to us, we're actually too scared to go and talk to the C-suite about this. I mean, what's your view on that?
Oh, sure. I think it really has to be an open, transparent discussion across the whole company. So you've really got to get everyone involved and on the same page. And the strategy has to be clearly articulated, across the company. Innovation has to involve everyone, and so communication and collaboration are super critical to be successful as well. And often companies don't really communicate their strategy that well internally. So I think collaboration, coordination, really working across the C-suite, because everyone has a role to play. So it's not just the CIO, but COO, CFO, etc. They all have very unique insights into what they could do with digital. So.
And I think some of the people at the shop floor as well quite often feel that they're disconnected from digital, and feel and if it's not something that you've grown up with, and can feel threatened by this. And I'm not saying that they're going to leave, but you could be in a situation where the people that feel threatened will leave, and the people that are actually very digitally enabled, who because you're not moving fast enough, leave.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that that gets to the culture of the organization, and it probably goes back to communication. And so I guess there can be a lot of misconceptions about what's going on. So particularly with AI and robotics and kind of these kind of converged roles between humans and machines, and kind of I think more and more tasks are going to be conducted jointly between people and machines working together. So, I think every industry and every company has to think about, okay, what is that joint role now, and how do we communicate that to the
and we're working with machines. Here we are working with computers and stuff across the internet, and I think that we're just going to get more of this. We're just as much as we're working here and having a conversation. I think this thing about, yes, I think some jobs may go, but I think at the end of the day, there's a number of benefits that humans have, which is that we have a sense of humor. We have, we can actually think outside the box, and we understand sarcasm, and a whole bunch of things, which at the moment AI is a long way away from.
Oh yeah, that's right, and absolutely, yeah. And there's one in the book. Basically, I looked at a matrix of human and machine collaboration, and there's just so many ways that people and machines can work together. So, there's a physical person working with a virtual machine, and vice versa. So, basically, we came up with a quadrant to think through all these different scenarios. And in every one, the human is playing a key role. So you've got doctors doing telepresence, you've got military kind of augmented technologies, headsets, etc. So there's every permutation you can think of. Yeah, and even robotic delivery in hospitals. Little machines taking the elevator and delivering medicines and bed linens and things throughout the hospital. But behind it all, you've got, you still have the humans managing this fleet of technology and coordinating and being more strategic, and just taking the physical labor out of the job. So in healthcare, we found that there's kind of a logistical element actually inside hospitals. That's a lot of heavy lifting and hundreds of miles of moving materials around the hospital. So you can basically offload that to a 3-foot high robot, and it frees up your staff to engage with patients a bit more, things like that.
So what's your third element then of mastering a digital business?
Sure. Number 3 is really about kind of seeing the forest for the trees, kind of stepping back a bit and while we have, enabling technologies like AI and IoT, drones, etc., blockchain, it's really about stepping back, being more strategic, and thinking about the powerful combinations of technology. So a good example is what you can really unlock when you think about these combinations. Great example is the Amazon Go checkout free shopping. So it's not only a mobile device that the customer walks in with, they've got their mobile device for checkout, but it's IoT, it's machine vision, it's what they call sensor fusion, deep learning. There's a whole number of technologies that are being used in that new value proposition. So that number three, when we studied, world-leading organizations that had already, created some very transformational business models, they were actually using combinations of disruptive technology to completely rewrite a new value proposition for their customers. And often it's something you can't do with just one technology alone. The possibilities really open up when you're kind of architecting a process or a business model, with that broader palette of technology.
And I think, Amazon Go is I've not used it, but I think, it would be something that I would love to do. I think with technologies, quite often what we're doing is we're waiting for that change, which is, so for example, we didn't have, until the iPhone came along, we didn't have Snapchat and Facebook and certainly the best thing that people can seem to be able to come up with at the moment is to take a kettle and you can run it with an app, which is, what we've done so far in the way that we transform things is that, for example, the electric light is just a gas light, but it's electric. And an electric motor is actually a steam engine, but it's run by electric. And what we need to be doing is waiting for that transformational piece of technology where you go, Shazam, for example, I never thought, I've been, how many times have I sat in bars and gone, what's this song? What's this song? And then someone comes along and actually creates something using, I guess, an algorithm to say, right, you just hold it up at the speaker and that changes everything. And I guess we're kind of waiting for that for some of these technologies.
Yeah, that's kind of the breakthrough moment where people start thinking about not how I can innovate my old process and do it exactly the same way with a new device, which happened a lot actually over the last 10 years. A lot of so-called innovation was really just they kept the process the same and just used a tablet or something. But the benefit wasn't really there because it was the same process. So when you really rethink the whole process and what's possible and the art of the possible with these newer technologies, that's kind of where the breakthroughs happen. Yeah.
So what's your fourth point then in mastering a digital business, Nick?
Sure. The fourth point was it's kind of like an analogy with a magician, right? So the magician has his or her props, but they also have the sleight of hand. So in digital business, it's the same thing. The props are the emerging technologies, so that's what we use. But we also need the sleight of hand. So we need to be very agile in how we design, develop, deploy, manage, maintain these services, so that you can very quickly and nimbly roll out new services to your customers. So this agility is something I've called digital services mastery. And it's really kind of a whole life cycle with techniques like Agile, DevOps, as a service, kind of managing those applications as a service, and really making that a core competency in the organization. So in the book, we talked to the director of the UK government digital service, and that was something that really stood out to me when I was investigating gov.uk and what they were doing there. They'd saved about 1.6 billion pounds for UK taxpayers. They had the platform architecture, so they had a lot of reusable components in their platform stack, which gave them a lot of cost savings. across all the departments and agencies in the UK, about 331 agencies. And basically, they were also they had this digital services mastery, very up to date, very skilled in how their staff developed and deployed technology in agile ways. So that really impressed me, and that was one of their kind of DNA elements that they had, which has made them very, very successful.
And that agility and dexterity, I mean, is required across all organizations, because in the past we generally took things and we have very long processes, and then something comes along and it's very difficult to actually change or break that process.
Yeah, that's right. So, the old way of working with technology was, spend several years to develop something, and then once it's out there, of course, the world might have changed even before you got the application to market. But yeah, even with digital transformation, if you get something fantastic out, you've got to be able to react and innovate and change on a weekly basis. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in the same trap and having to transform again. So that's why that's so important, that agility and ability to change. Yeah.
Of
course, tying it to the customer too. So
yes.
Getting that feedback real time, really listening to customers, and not really pivoting, but adjusting based on what their needs are.
Yeah. And having that ability to move and that agility to move the operating model based on those changes. I mean, pivot is a word that could actually mean completely changing your business, but as you said, it's not necessarily pivoting. It's actually maybe adjusting because of something that you've heard out on social or something like that, and being able to move and change the operating model.
Yeah, it's listening to customers if they're using a company's service. Basically, really listening intently to what they're saying, finding out what features they like, what other features are they interested in, and really kind of prioritizing that product roadmap based on, what your customers are telling you. So, I think that's one of the keys to success too. Yeah.
So, Nick, before we talk about Thinkers 360, do you want to just quickly summarize your 4 aspects of mastering a digital business?
Sure. It's so number 1 is platform business models from both a technical and a business perspective, and that really gives you reuse, standardization, ability to form an ecosystem, bring in IP from partners, letting customers innovate on top of your platform. That really gives you the foundation. Number 2 is really about leading practices in corporate innovation and really kind of aligning the sites of the innovation engine to support your objectives in digital transformation. So metrics, etc. Really getting that funnel of ideas, directing that in, to support your digital objectives. Number 3, combinations of disruptive technology, thinking beyond just a single technology, and really the power of combining those technologies to architect a completely new value prop for customers. And then number 4 is all about the digital services mastery and being very agile in how you develop, deploy, manage, maintain those services.
Fascinating. And where can people get a hold of a copy of your book?
Sure. Usual places. So
it's on Amazon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so amazon.co.uk, amazon.com, and just type in "mastering digital business," and it should come up.
And it should come up. So, thank you. That's Nick. I mean, it sounds like a fantastic book, and for every business leader to read, really, in terms of digital transformation and thinking about things differently, I think is critical. Now, Thinkers 360, Talk me through that, because we actually met through Thinkers 360, haven't we? Well, we kind of met, but it was that kind of fused our discussions and our conversations.
Yeah, sure. So Thinkers 360, it's basically a platform of the world's top thought leaders in terms of academics, analysts, authors, speakers, and influencers, and consultants. And really, the reason I put it together was, we see a lot of leaderboards around social, and they're really measuring just one dimension. So they're great at looking at social influence, and that's definitely the place to go. So I was basically looking at kind of more horizontally. When you think about a thought leader, they often wear a number of hats. So they might be an author, an influencer, and a speaker, and wearing all those different hats at the same time. So how do you measure their thought leadership? Basically, the Thinkers 360 algorithm actually looks across all of their content. So we're looking at books and articles, media interviews, keynote speeches. We also look at social influence. And the algorithm basically comes up with a score for thought leaders. So we do a number of different leaderboards in things like digital transformation, AI, IoT, but looking holistically across that thought leader's portfolio. So it's
is that looking and measuring, and is that looking and measuring at hashtags on things like Twitter or?
Part of that, but we also look at publications too. So we look at published books, articles, keynote speeches, media interviews, social, and so on. And basically, what we do, the value prop for a thought leader, is we're basically curating all their content for them, which is often spread all across the internet in different places. So we're trying to give them a resume, but not necessarily of their work experience, but more their thought leadership portfolio. And then we basically, they have an online portfolio they can share. So kind of a resume of their thought leadership. And then we also share all their content on social media. That's actually one of our members' favorite features is actually the fact that we share and promote their content.
And who are the people that are part of Thinkers 360? What are because is it open to everybody, or what's the classic person that you would want to be part of that?
Yeah, it's really anyone that's publishing content. So it could be an academic, an author with books, someone that's blogging regularly, an influencer. We love to have all the big name influencers like yourself. And
yeah, thank you. Yeah. So I'm a modest, as you know, we're very modest as English people. So yeah.
Yeah, and so really across the board there, authors, influencers, speakers, consultants. We've got a number of great analysts, very well-known analysts as well. So really anyone producing their own content and IP in whatever format. And that's really what we like to curate and showcase.
Right. And it's thinkers360.com, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Good. So anybody who thinks that they should be on thinkers360.com should get in touch with you.
Yeah, and they can actually sign up directly through the site as well.
Right. So. Okay, cool. So is there anything else about Thinkers 360 that you wanted to talk about, Nick?
No, I think you covered it there. So cool. Yeah.
So remind everybody where they can get hold of you.
Sure. It's on Twitter. It's Nicholas D. Evans, and thinkers360.com, and LinkedIn. Just search for Nicholas Evans, and you should see my face somewhere. So
it's the old face with the goatee. Yeah. Cool. Nick, it's been great talking to you. There's been great insight there about digital business, and I think it's something that we all need to be thinking about. I think it's one of those things where it doesn't matter how many times I talk about it, I learn something new. people know that I always prepare these talks, and I mean, it was fascinating talking to you beforehand, and it's been fascinating talking to you today. I mean, it changes all the time, and I think having people like you that are pushing for the debate are fantastic. Thinkers 360, as you know, I'm part of that. Again, I think it's a great platform, and if there's people out there that fit the model that you talked about, academics, influencers, writers, authors, then I think they should join it as well. So it's been great having you on today.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome, Nick. And I'll see you on social soon.
Talking to you.
Great. Thanks, Nick. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.